Welcome! MEKTON, the Battlesuit combat game, also known as MEKTON 1984, also known as MEKTON Whitebox. Today we're talking personal combat. So in the MEKTON Character and Combat Training Manual, we'll need to go to page 17. So let me pull that up here. And here we see Damien, MEKTON Warrior, and Prince of Kargan. I want to make a note here. Mech skill is MCS, that's MEKTON combat skill. There are some discrepancies in this rule book, so I'll be calling it MCS. So Damien has an MCS of 17, a PCS of 18, and a reputation of 17. So Damien is a very formidable opponent. Now, if you remember in my character creation video, your character will start with a MCS and PCS of 1 to 6 points. So he also has a reputation of 17, which gives him access to a high-level power plant so he can build very powerful MEKTONs. Or have a very powerful MEKTON, I should say. In here, he mentions these various weapons. There's not that many weapons in this game. The thing with these weapons is, just like the MEKTON weapons, they do static damage. Now, the damage that they do typically is between like 2 points to 4 points. Your fists are 2 points, and kicks are 2 points. The cyber sword, I believe, is 4 points. But these weapons don't do that much damage because you have a damage value at 10. So even with the sword, it would take an attacker 3 hits to defeat their opponent, or at least to render them unconscious. In this game, once you lose your DV, once you lose all 10, then you become unconscious. Once you reach -5, you're permanently defeated. Now, your character is going to have a reputation of 1 and access only to the level 1 power plant. I'm not sure reputation 17. I would like to think you get access to the highest level power plant, which is the level 8 power plant, but I just can't remember if that was enough or not. There are a couple weapons that can stun you as well. So if they successfully hit you, you'll be stunned or paralyzed, as they call it, for 10 turns. The grenade can permanently defeat you as it does 20 damage. Now, I'll talk a little bit about it later, but there's some interesting stuff on how they handle grenades. So we move on to turns. Turns are much the same as it is in MEKTON combat. But here, your character can go first if they have the highest PCS. So just like MEKTON combat, the higher your PCS, the better. If you have the highest PCS, you get to go first. If there's any ties along the way, you just roll 1d6 to resolve them. The higher the roll gets to go before the lower rolls. And that's how basically initiative is resolved. Now on your turn, you can move and perform 1 action. Or if you're just standing still, you could perform 2 actions. There's no such thing as free actions in this game. Now, actions are things like, pulling a lever, pushing a button, picking up an item, making an attack, things like that. So pretty much anything you want to do is going to be an action. Now, of course, you can make two combat attacks if you wanted to, as both your actions. You can move 6 hexes. Everyone moves 6 hexes per turn. You can move in any direction. Each hex is 10 feet. Now, in MEKTON scale combat, each hex is 1 mile. Now, they say in this game that your fastest warriors can run 1 hex in 20 turns. So I did the calculation, and that means 1 turn is equal to 12 seconds, assuming a 4-minute mile. Now, I haven't seen anywhere in these rules as to how long a turn actually is. But if you use that as a benchmark, then each turn is 12 seconds. Now, to make your attack, it's much like MEKTON combat. You're going to choose your target, but you're not going to choose the location that you want to hit. So you can't choose the head or the torso and an arm or a leg, although you could house rule that. There is no rule for it in this on the personal combat level. And so what you do is you just declare who you're targeting. You also need to make sure that your weapon is within range. And then what you'll do, the way they word it here, is you're going to roll a d20 to get a number equal to or lower than your PCS plus AM minus your target's PCS plus DM. So basically that creates the target number, the PCS plus AM minus your target's PCS plus DM. That creates your target number, and you need to roll that number or less. Now, typically with hand-to-hand combat, those numbers are quite high. The different weapons also have a number they add to your PCS. So the cyber sword, for instance, adds 10, and the laser pistol adds 12 to your PCS. And then they also have that dumb luck rule, although they don't call it that here. They just say that on a roll of 1, it will always strike, while a 20 will always miss. Here's the grenades they talk about. Basically, you're aiming for a target hex. If you roll 7 or less, then you hit that hex. If you roll higher than 7, then the grenade will land on a surrounding hex. Now, what you do is you roll your d20 and subtract your PCS from that roll. So it's a little different than your normal combat. Your physical attacks do 2 points of damage, which isn't much considering the characters all have a damage value of 10. They also have grappling attacks. There's not that many here, but again, you can house roll and incorporate some of those grappling attacks from MEKTON combat, because I believe there are 6 different grappling attacks, and you can use some of those here or all of them if they apply. You can also knock your target unconscious, which I really like. It's a devastating attack because it still does 2 points of damage, but your target's knocked out for 10 turns. And so there's what they call the DM or disadvantage modifier that you must apply to that attack. And that's going to wrap up personal combat. So my future videos that I have planned, I will take a look at the scenarios. I think that's pretty much the last thing we have. Past that, I will do my combat demonstration video. I'll probably include both MEKTON and personal combat in the same video. Beyond that, I want to do an errata video where I show off the errata sheet. I talk about some of the things there. I will also include my own errata because I made mistakes along the way. And then also any rules that I got wrong that I should say that I remember that I got wrong. I've been writing them down as I've been going through these videos. So I'll try to clarify all that in my errata video. And then finally, I'll have a conclusion video where I talk about the game and maybe what I plan to do with it in the future. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching and subscribe the channel.